Maul, the son of Mother Talzin, was born on Dathomir. Being a Dathomirian's black male, he was a Night brother and had two blood brothers, Feral and Savage Press. Before his first birthday, Mother Talzin gave him his first tattoos. While Maul was a child, Mother Talzin allied herself with the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious. The two exchanged wisdom and power. Despite promising to make her as his apprentice, Sidious eventually abandoned her and instead kidnapped Maul once he realized the boy's potential. After being taken, Maul began training as Sidious's apprentice. For years, Maul was trained to become a weapon for the Sith, and he became an acrobatic warrior, one trained to be ruthless with his enemy, and he learned to use a double-bladed lightsaber. During his training, Sidious took Maul to Malachor, where a great battle happened between the Jedi and the Sith. Sidious forced Maul to breathe in the ashes of the Sith warriors who had been killed there. While breathing in the ash, Maul had a vision of members of the Sith Order being struck down by the Jedi. He felt the slash of saber after saber as he felt the death of his Sith brethren. The Sith training made Maul long for revenge against the Jedi and restored the Sith to galactic power. Several years in his training, he became impatient and longed for a confrontation against the Jedi, so much in fact that he had to hunt to calm his viciousness, and he started stalking a few Jedi while staying in the shadows of Coruscant. Sidious, however, did not want Maul to reveal himself or the Sith until the time was right, and he threatened Maul with death if he continued to risk their exposure. In an attempt to tame Maul's bloodlust, he sent him to deal with pirates who were interfering with the Trade Federation. While there, one of the pirates thought Maul was a Jedi and begged Maul for his life in exchange for information. He told him about a Jedi Padawan who had been kidnapped and would be auctioned off to the highest bidder. Maul immediately began to search for the Padawan, desperate to strike them down, and he hired a few bounty hunters, two of which were Cad Bane and Aurra Sing, and later on, they saved his life when Maul got in a bar fight, lost, and was nearly killed. After saving Maul, Maul and the bounty hunters tortured a protocol droid to find out where the auction was being held. When they got there, they found out that the Padawan's name was Eldera Cadus. They allowed her to be bought at the auction, and when she was, Maul and the bounty hunters killed the highest bidder and took Cadus for themselves. They escaped on a ship, but he was interrupted when Zrixos, the person who auctioned Cadus off, had put a bomb on the shuttle, and it was forced to crash land. Zrixos sent many ships after it, and they were forced to split up, Maul going with Cadus. When the two became surrounded, Maul gave Cadus her lightsaber, and the two of them fought side by side and defeated them all. As soon as they finished them off, the two prepared to fight each other. Both proved to be a match for each other, but Maul ultimately got the upper hand and stabbed her through the chest. Maul went to Rixos and killed her as well. Enjoying the Sith secrecy, he then returned to Darth Sidious, who told him that he knew he killed the youngling and asked if he was satisfied. Sidious was very pleased to hear Maul say that no, he was not. Later on, Maul worked with the force-sensitive Zek Pyra while intercepting shipments. Eventually, however, Maul turned on him and killed him with a piece of metal, pulling it with the force through his chest. Afterwards, Maul returned to Sidious, who told him that his antics were foolish. After that, Maul and Sidious returned to Malachor to expand their Sith training. While there, Maul had another vision, seeing himself as a Jedi, and his Zavrak boy begging him to help him against an attack by a giant creature. So he thinks to himself that he's a no Jedi, not a protector for the weak, but he's a hunter. So he kills the creature, and when the boy's family thank him, he chops all of the family's members' heads off. And when he woke up the vision, Sidious clapped for him, but told him that even his rage and emotions alone were not enough to destroy the Jedi. After years of his hate towards the Jedi, Maul became part of his master's plan to take over the Galactic Republic and destroy the Jedi. They needed Queen Amidala to sign a treaty, and after tracking her to the planet Tatooine, Maul was sent to get her there. He was forced to fight one of the Jedi protecting her, Master Qui-Gon Jinn, and the two engaged in a lightsaber duel. Maul wanted to kill the Jedi, but before he could, Jinn was rescued by the Queen's ship, leaving Maul fuming with rage. He then went to the planet Naboo, where the Queen and the Jedi had gone, and there he fought against Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi. This time, Maul got the upper hand and stabbed Jin with his lightsaber, killing him, but later lost to Kenobi, who cut him in half and let him fall through the shaft. Sidious and the Jedi thought Maul was dead, so Sidious moved on. However, through his hate and Maul used the Force to grab an air vent as he was tumbling down the reactor shaft and eventually made his way to a trash container. Maul's shattered body was dumped in the junkyard wall. He lived in the bowels of the planet and had his legs replaced by a six-limbed apparatus that allowed him to walk again. During his exile, he made a bargain with a sentient and sneaky anaconda named Morley, who agreed to bring him food in return for leftovers. Over the years, Maul was driven mad and despair, but a man driven by thoughts of revenge against Kenobi. Mother Talzin knew that Maul had survived, and during the Clone Wars told Maul's brother, Savage Opress, who eventually discovered his crazed brother. But Maul did not know who Savage was, and barely had a hold of his own identity. All that remained of the former Sith Lord was his lust for revenge against the Jedi. Savage brought his brother to Mother Talzin, repaired his mind, and gave him a pair of cybernetic legs. The first thing Maul did was seek revenge against Kenobi, and he slaughtered civilians to drag him out. Maul and Opress captured Kenobi, but the Jedi was rescued by Asajj Ventress. During the rescue, Maul engaged Obi-Wan in a lightsaber duel for the first time in over a decade, and during the fight, Maul talked about how he killed Kenobi's master. However, Kenobi and Ventress escaped. Maul knew the Jedi would soon be pursuing him, which played right into Maul's hands and his quest for revenge. The two brothers went on a rampage across the galaxy. During one of the raids, Maul defeated Savage, asserting himself as his master rather than his brother, and he told Savage that he would complete his Sith training. Later on, the two befriended pirates and were once again faced by Kenobi. After Savage got his arm cut off, Maul knew that they had to retreat, especially when the pirates that they befriended before turned on him. The brothers were weakened, Savage having only one arm, and Maul later losing one of his cybernetic legs. As they were escaping, the pirate Hondo shot their ship down. He believed the two brothers were dead, though Kenobi suspected otherwise. The brothers managed to escape alive, but they passed out from lack of oxygen, and were then found by Death Watch. Pre Vizsla, who was the leader of Death Watch, had his team mend their injuries, saying that if they were enemies of the Jedi, then they are their friends. Realizing that they shared one goal, to take the Jedi down, an even more specific enemy, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul and Vizsla teamed up together. They built their army, recruiting whoever they could, and they became so powerful. In fact, they moved on to overthrow the government of Duchess Satine of Mandalore. As this went on, Maul anticipated and counted Pre Vizsla betraying him, and not too long after, his suspicions were confirmed. Pre Vizsla had Maul and Savage Opress arrested and locked up. Death Watch declared themselves the leaders of Mandalore. Maul and Opress broke out and stormed into the Mandalorian throne room to challenge Pre Vizsla to an honorable deathmatch. They knew the winner would gain allegiance of Death Watch and become the leader of Mandalore. The duel ended up with Maul winning, beheading Pre Vizsla with his own weapon, the Darksaber, that the Mandalorians stole from the Jedi Temple in the Old Republic era, which Maul took as his own, along with the Throne of Mandalore. Maul's victory split Death Watch in two. Half of them refused to pledge their loyalty to him. When Maul knew that Duchess Satine called the Jedi for help, Maul knew that Mandalore was neutral in the Clone Wars, so they could not send a team of Jedi to put a stop to this. But Maul knew that Kenobi would come alone, save the love of his life. Maul, anticipating this, knew that Satine would be a perfect tool for revenge, and when Kenobi came and was captured, Maul killed Satine right in front of Kenobi, forcing him to watch, now taking two very meaningful people in Obi-Wan's life away from him, right in front of him. First, his master, and now the woman he loved. As a Civil War and Mandalore crew, Maul did not get a chance to be a part of it. When his old master Darth Sidious sensed Maul growing strength and went to take care of him before he became too powerful. Maul and Opress fought Sidious, who they were no match for. Sidious killed Savage in front of Maul, and Maul fought back, but Sidious disarmed him, making him beg for mercy.
Please, please.
But Sidious told him that there is no mercy, and hit him with force lighting. He then told Maul that he was not going to kill him, as he had other uses for him. After that duel, Sidious took Maul as his prisoner in a prison called Spire, and there, Maul was subjected to awful torture. The two were interrupted by Count Dooku, whose arrival angered Maul. as he was the one who Sidious replaced as his new apprentice. Later, Dooku and Maul were alone, and while Dooku interrogated him, trying to find out his known associates, he used Force lightning to torture Maul, though Maul resisted. And after Dooku left, Maul's Death Watch allies attacked the prison and freed their captive leader, Maul. Unknown to Maul, however, the Sith intended for Maul to escape so he can lead them to Mother Talzin. Once again in command of his forces, Maul reclaimed his dark saber and promised the Mandalorians the war that they had been waiting for. They were then attacked by separatist forces led by General Grievous, and while Maul's Death Watch army fought them, Maul got in a duel with Grievous. Grievous overpowered him with a strong kick, and when he realized his forces were losing, he had his remaining forces retreat, and to Dooku's orders, Grievous let him escape, hoping once again that he would lead them to Mother Talzin. Maul contacted Talzin through the Force, and after he told her about his capture and loss against Grievous, she told him to gather his remaining forces and prepare for another bout, this time luring Dooku and Grievous into a trap, and knowing that she was a target, Talzin did not join him. Before the huge battle, Night Brother warriors joined Maul's army. After being sent by Mother Talzin, Maul ordered his forces to begin carrying out their assault on the ground, told the Night Brothers to wait in the command center for instructions. Maul and his Death Watch forces used warships to assault the Separatist fleet in orbit. They boarded Grievous' ship and Maul subdued Grievous. He gave him a choice: either disable the signal powering the droids on the surface or die. This made Grievous disable the signal, and he was taken into custody. The battle droids being disabled also led to Dooku's capture on the surface. After the battle, Maul contacted Mother Talzin to inform her of his victory, and Talzin promised him Dooku and Grievous in custody. They would capture Sidious as well and gain revenge against him. When Maul contacted Sidious, showing him his captured ally and apprentice, Sidious said that he had no use for either one of them and told him to kill them both. But Maul had other plans for them. Maul tempted Dooku to join him, saying that they were both betrayed by Sidious, but Dooku refused. Mother Talzin then appeared and told Dooku how Sidious betrayed her as well, and that his master was already trying to replace him. However, as they spoke, they came under attack by a Republic army, led by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu. Now with both their lives at stake, Maul gave Dooku his lightsaber, and they joined forces, ready to kill the Jedi. After killing one Jedi, the two Sith Lords escaped, and while they were escaping, Maul told Kenobi that they would be seeing each other again soon enough. After escaping, Maul called Dooku out, saying he knew he only allied with him on Sidious's orders, and Maul had him taken away. Then they made their way to Dathomir, Maul's home planet, and there they planned to use Dooku as a sacrifice so Mother Talzin could have her physical return. They were interrupted by an explosion. However, Maul went to investigate. He was met by Grievous and Sidious. This led to a lightsaber duel, which Mother Talzin also joined in while possessing Dooku's body. Talzin fought Sidious, while Maul fought Grievous. Maul defeated Grievous, and meanwhile, Mother Talzin returned to her own physical form and dueled Sidious against his Force lightning. Maul begged his mother to take his string and later said that they should escape together, but she refused and demanded that Maul retreat, saying that if she lowered her defenses, he would die. She shot him back, and he was dragged away by his Death Watch warriors. He saw Grievous stab Talzin with his lightsaber, and Maul screamed out for his mother, but there was nothing he could do. As Maul fled Dathomir, his forces were defeated. Mother Talzin was gone, and in Sidious's eyes, even though Maul escaped, the former Sith Lord had been immolated as a rival, and his only remaining forces returned to Mandalore, where they stayed hiding for some time. During the final days of the Clone Wars, they found themselves under siege by a battalion of clone troopers, led by Captain Rex and Ahsoka Tano. During the siege, Maul fought Ahsoka in a lightsaber duel, mocking her as they fought. Maul, however, was led into a plaza where they trapped him in a ray shield. Maul got lucky though, because during the siege, Sidious initiated Order 66, calling all of Ahsoka's clone minus Rex to turn on her, Though Ahsoka was given the opportunity to kill Maul, she instead chose to save Rex. As a result of this, Maul once again escaped. Sometime after escaping the siege of Mandalore, Maul went back to his home planet of Dathomir and became the shadowy leader of a criminal organization called Crimson Dawn. After the death of Dryden Voss, Maul was contacted by Kira, who informed him that Voss had been betrayed and murdered by Tobias Beckett and his associates. Irritated, Maul told Kira to return to Dathomir, and there they would decide what to do with Beckett and his accomplices. He finished their conversation saying that the two of them would be working much closely from now on. Years later, Maul traveled to Malachor, the same place where Sidious took him during his Sith training, but this time he was searching for the Sith holocron to gain knowledge on how to destroy the Sith, who wronged him so many times. However, his ship crashed, leaving him trapped there for years, without contact from the wider galaxy. 3 years before the Battle of Yavin, an Inquisitor named the Eighth Brother tracked him down to Malachor, shortly followed by a boy named Ezra Bridger. He manipulated Bridger into helping him retrieve the Sith holocron. During their brief time alone together, Maul taught Ezra the ways of the dark side by preying upon the boy's passionate and aggressive tendencies. They later ran into Kanan Jarrus and Ahsoka Tano, who he had not seen since the Siege of Mandalore during Order 66. The four teamed up, and while Bridger trusted Maul, Ahsoka and Kanan did not. Nevertheless, with Maul's guidance, they made their way to the top of the temple to get the knowledge on how to destroy the Sith. Maul continued to encourage Ezra to use the powers of the dark side, even tempting him to strike an Inquisitor down, which to the disappointing of Maul, he could not do, forcing Maul to kill her himself. Maul later betrayed the Jedi and said that Ezra was now his apprentice. He then blinded Kanan, and while dueling Ahsoka, he admitted that it wasn't just the Sith holocron that they had sent Ezra to get, but as they spoke, Ezra was activating an entire battle station, which Maul planned to use to get revenge on all of his enemies, both the Sith and the Jedi. However, Kanan fought back, and even when he was blind, he was able to send Maul falling down from the temple to the ground below. Though Maul survived the fall using one of the fallen Inquisitor ships, he finally left the planet that he had been trapped on for so many years. Smiling as he planned his next move, when Maul resurfaced, he held Ezra and Kanan's team hostage, demanding that he get both the Sith and the Jedi holocron. He knew if he put the two together, it would give him all the knowledge in the world and answer any question that he wanted. The Jedi agreed, and while they retrieved it, Maul used the Force to prop Hera's mind and find the Jedi holocron on their ship. When the Jedi arrived, Maul sent Kanan flying into space. Thinking he was dead, he went to Ezra, and together they opened the holocrons, looking for a way to destroy the Sith. While doing this, Maul saw the worlds he lived and went on to escape from the Jedi in a ship. Because they opened the holocrons together, Maul and Ezra had become mentally connected, and using that connecting, Maul found Ezra and threatened him to come to Dathomir with him. There they connected their minds together again, this time wielding Night Sister magic. This time they discovered that Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't die, and that he was still alive, and that he was on a planet with the twin suns, and that he had the key to destroying the Sith. After getting away from Night Sister spirits for using their magic, Maul saw his longtime enemy. He had been to the planet with the twin suns once before, a long time ago when tracking Queen Amidala, the Queen of Naboo. Maul eventually made his way to the planet, but he got lost and contemplated the thought of dying in the desert. Ezra eventually led Maul to Kenobi, and Maul did everything he could to get Kenobi upset, but nothing seemed to work until Maul realized that the reason behind Kenobi being there was to protect a boy, the thing that Maul had seen, the key that Kenobi had to destroy the Sith. Kenobi ignited his lightsaber, ready to protect the young boy Luke Skywalker, a new hope to destroying the Sith. Maul made a move at Obi-Wan Kenobi, but with 3 strikes, Maul was struck down. He fell into his greatest enemy's arm, gasping for breath, and asked Kenobi if the boy was the chosen one. Kenobi replied to him, saying that yes, he is. And then he said his last word, that the boy would avenge them and destroy the Sith once and for all. Maul's head fell, and his greatest enemy lay him to rest, closing his eyelids. That was the full story of Darth Maul. Tell me, what do you guys think? I personally really like his story. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.